Hello again, it's Em. So I did a video for you before looking at the smart instruments on GarageBand. So I looked at how you can use the instrument tracks on here to play guitar, to play drums, to play some instruments, anything that you like. So now there's another thing that I want to have a really quick look at because I think it's really exciting to make music quickly using something that's really accessible. So before we were on tracks. So again, I've got my mouse connected so you can follow where my cursor is. So before we were on tracks, and we had the guitar, remember, and the drums, which are here. We looked at those. So now we're going to have a look at live loops. So live loops is at the top next to where it says tracks, and you can see this different menu comes up. And there are lots of different options. All you have to do is choose one. So we've got EDM, which is electronic music, it's like dance music. We've got hip hop. We've got dubstep, which is really heavy. We've got R&B, which can be a bit softer. We've got some house music, which is again electronic. There's loads. So I'm going to go for rock first. So as you can see here, it says rock. So what happens when I click on it? Let's have a look. So it'll take a minute to load. Now, there are lots of different squares. So there are blue squares and there are yellow squares. The colour of the squares isn't important. So what's happening here, you can see on the left, we've got the different instruments. So we've got a drum kit here, we've got a bass guitar, and then we've got a couple of electric guitars and some amps. So these are all tiny sections of someone playing each of these instruments together. So at the bottom, you can see it's numbered. It says 1, 2, 3, 4 and up to 11. Now for each number, it's a different section. So let's just have a listen. I'm going to click 1 and hear what it sounds like. Cool. So if I left that playing, it's just going to play that over and over and over again. And there are loads of sections like that. So there's 11 different sections actually. I think number 11 might just be an ending, so it might just be one chord. But so for argument's sake, we've got 10. So look at the first 10. And you can play any of them at any point. You can start the song with number 1, then you can go to number 6, play that for a little while, and then go to number 3, whatever. So if you're like, oh, I've always wanted to make a rock song, it's a really easy way of doing it. So on the live loops section, it means that you press the loops in real time and they play for you, and they'll keep playing until you change them or you stop them. And you can sing over the top, you can just have the loops playing, you can perform with it. Which is really exciting. So you can play stuff live without having ever touched an instrument before. And I think that's what's really great about it, is that it gives you access to this kind of music without having to, have already had guitar lessons. Or if you do want guitar lessons, this is a really great way to start, looking at this kind of music. So I'm just going to play about with it for a little while so you can kind of see what it looks like and have a little listen. So let's start with number 1. So in a minute, I'm going to go to number 2. Number 3. And 4. Number 5. Now another thing you can do if you want to is take instruments in and out. So just bass and drums. Play chords. And you can bring the other two. So you can play around with it. Let's have a listen to some of these other ones. It's a nice heavy section, that, isn't it? So number 10 sounds like it could be the same or very similar to number 2. And then there's that ending in number 11. So as you can see, I've just made a whole rock song in a couple of minutes, just simply by, you know, pressing each of the numbers. So I think the important thing is to press the number to start the section. And then if you want to bring specific instruments in and out, then you can do it that way. Or if you want, you can literally just press loops and see what happens. See what it sounds like, experiment with it. So that's the live loop section. Really exciting. Now, the other thing I said that I would go through with you in the other video, but I felt that the other video was too long, so I put it in this one, is the drummer. So I've gone back to the main menu and I'm going to go back onto where it says tracks, and I'm going to have a look at the drummer. So this video is much more about looking at how you can use this to play the music for you, and you can do what we call arranging. So you can just choose, you make decisions about what you want to come in where and what instruments you want in it, rather than actually playing it yourself. So completely different role, but still really valid in music and making our own music. So let's have a look what happens when we click on drummer. So at the top, we've got this track here. Now this is what we call a track. In GarageBand, when you load up tracks, they'll be lined up like this. And there'll be loads of them, kind of like how we saw in that live looping thing where I had the drums at the top and then the bass. Those are all tracks. So this is, remember I said in the other video about bars. So this is showing us 8 bars. You see it says number 8 here. So let's just have a play and see what it sounds like so far and see what happens. And you can see whenever I want to stop, there's a nice square here to stop the music. Great. So, a drum beat. The drummer we've got is called Kyle. So with drummers, the drummer aspect, you can choose the person, which is quite fun. You can choose what parts of the drum kit they're using, how often they're using it, how loud they're going to be. You can edit every single thing about it. So imagine you've got a person in front of you who's a drummer. He's got a drum kit in front of him and he says, I will play whatever you tell me to play. And you can give him any instruction. You can be, I want you to play rock music really loud, or I want you to play country music but really quietly. And he'll do, that's essentially what this drummer thing is. So if you want to add drums to your song, like you've already put stuff in it, you've already played some guitar and some strings, but you want a drum kit, but you're not really sure how to go about it, you can either use the drum thing we looked at earlier, or you can use drummer, which can be quite fun. So let's have a look at who we've got. So I'm going to start with an acoustic sound. I'm going to go for Darcy. So now already what it will have done is changed this thing that we listened to. So if I press play again, it's very slightly different. So this is when this button here to take us back to the start is really useful. So we click that and it takes us all the way back to the beginning so that when we listen to it, we start from the start. Now, I'm going to leave this as it is. So I'm going to leave the presets there. And I'm just going to show you this element. So you can see there is a drum kit and some of the elements are highlighted and some of them are greyed out. The ones that are highlighted are the ones that are being used. So at the moment, she is using a kick drum, a snare drum, and a hi-hat. At the bottom, it says fills. Now, a drum fill is whenever you've seen a drummer playing the drums and they go all the way around the kit and it's very exciting and everyone really loves it and they go really fast. That's what drum fill is. So it's when you hit the whole of the kit in time and it's like a little moment. So you can tell the drummer how many times you want them to fill. So if you're like, I want you to do loads, move it all the way up to the top. Let's just have a listen and see what that does. See if we can hear where the fill is. So this sounds like the beat. That there, so that was the fill. Let's just play that bar again so you can hear. It's nice. So that sound you can hear is the snare drum. And that's a drum fill. So I think actually that's a bit too much. So I'm going to take this back down. And I want some tambourine. So I'm going to make the tambourine. So you have a choice between whether you want cymbals or the hi-hat. So you can't have them both, but you can have one or the other. So hi-hats they're two round pieces of metal and there's two of them and they sort of open like a mouth. That's the hi-hat. And then the other cymbals are just singular pieces of metal that surround the kit. So let's try cymbals and see what that sounds like. I'm going to press number 2. So there's 3 different styles of cymbal playing. So I've just chosen number 2 because why not? Kick and snare, there's a few more. So we've got all these different, and each time you press one of these buttons, it changes it slightly. So let's have a listen to what that sounds like. This has made it faster. I think that's a bit too fast for me. So I'm going to go back down and see what it sounds like a bit slower. Now you can see what happens when I move the yellow dot in this square. So again, what I just did then, and I'll explain to you what I did. So I moved it all the way to the left where it says simple. If you have a look at the top, you can see that there is suddenly way less of the little white peaks that happen. You can hear there are less drums happening. So for the most part there's that percussion and then there's that snare drum. What happens when I put it all the way back to the right? Suddenly a lot more going on. I'm now going to swap in for the toms. So you can hear the cymbals have disappeared and now we've got those drum sounds over the top. So as you can see again, you can really play around with it whilst listening to it and hear, and then once you're like, this is it, this is the drum beat I want, then you can leave the settings as they are and it's there, it's ready for you. I just wanted to show you what you can do right off the bat, not knowing anything about GarageBand, not knowing anything about music, and how it can be really exciting and really fun. And I really look forward to doing this with you in person and you being able to really explore your own creativity and playing some music. The final video that I will do for you next time, I will use GarageBand to perform a song to you so you can see, you know, how you could use it. So hopefully that would be nice for you guys to watch. But yeah, thank you very much.